It seems that every year, Steam gets one step closer to world domination with more and more people using it as their sole way of playing video games. And that got me thinking, why not make a video about some fascinating Valve theories? Close to the end of the old Aperture sequence in Portal 2, Cave Johnson mentions that the entire point of the personality core concept was to put his thoughts and emotions into a computer. The player then discovers that he instead performs a procedure on his assistant Caroline, who becomes GLaDOS, the series' main antagonist. It is assumed that Cave's mental and physical health have declined after consuming moon rocks, in result causing his consciousness incapable of human and computer singularity. However, a little bit into the game, you come across this Oracle turret, who is usually looked over and thought to be just a random AI. But some have theorized that this turret is actually Cave Johnson, whose deteriorating conscience was placed into the robot. Now many would wonder why the founder of Aperture Science would have been placed in such a generic turret. Well, perhaps this was Caroline's revenge against Cave for putting her mind into a robot's body. So instead of just letting him die, she places him into the least significant thing she could think of, a random turret. Another hint to further this theory would be the dialogue itself. The most evident being him trying to get Chell's attention by claiming that he's different. Also, how else would a random turret know that her name is Caroline, or know where old Aperture is by telling Chell that the answer is beneath us? On top of all this, the turret is somehow able to quote Cave's "Get mad and don't make lemonade" speech. The final piece of this puzzle is that the achievement you earn by picking up this turret is called No Hard Feelings. Possibly Cave's way of apologizing for all the horrendous things he had done while he was still alive. On the surface, Dr. Breen seems like the perfect villain, with the somewhat sympathetic motivations of keeping mankind alive, but evil enough for the player to hate him. This leads into the concept that many have theorized, which states that Dr. Breen may have been the most heroic character in the Half-Life series, and may have helped the Resistance more than anybody else. To understand this hypothesis better, we first have to accept the theory that the G-Man had given Gordon Freeman to the Resistance, which would explain his interest in keeping Freeman alive. There's also a good amount of evidence to back it up as well, such as the Resistance lack of surprise when he shows up. This is however only the beginning, because the next part of this theory is that Gordon Freeman was hired by none other than Dr. Breen. Breen always acted with human interest in mind, and in addition to this, he saw Gordon's potential as a soldier. He knew that Gordon could be the driving force that would save mankind. Because of this, Breen was able to stop the Combine from wiping out humanity completely. For this reason, he negotiated a deal with the G-Men in secret. This could possibly mean that he was in partnership with Eli Vance for this, explaining the Resistance knowing that Freeman would come. But only Vance knew of his cooperation, as the Resistance hate for Breen was the most important part of the plan. Every hero like Gordon Freeman needs a villain, and Breen was a great pick for the position. Dr. Breen knew that his place between humanity and the Combine would make him the single most hated person on the planet. Instead of trying to resist this, he played the part perfectly. He made himself into the perfect villain through his propaganda messages, giving a recognizable face to the Combine's evil that the Resistance could rally against. If the faceless forms of Alien were the face of the Combine, they would likely only crush the Resistance hope further. With Breen, they weren't fighting a terrifying alien race, but instead they were fighting an old man. Dr. Breen played the villain not because he was evil, but because he wanted to keep up morale in the Resistance, meaning he was a good guy all along. Team Fortress 2 may as well just be one of the most acclaimed first-person shooters on the market, with an incredibly balanced cast of playable characters. But for this theory, we will be focusing on the Pyro and Spy, who some claim actually hate each other. This theory's first piece of evidence is the taunt that the Spy has, which states, "The world will thank me for this, you monster," and in another case calls the Pyro a mumbling abomination. Standing out here is that the Spy calls the Pyro a monster and an abomination. This is in support of the idea that the Pyro may have had past negative interactions with the Spy, in which he had given him severe burns all over his body. This would explain why the Spy's mask is never removed and he's always wearing gloves. It's to cover up the severe burns. This disfiguring injury is why the Spy refers to the Pyro with such hateful names. The final piece of evidence that ties this theory all together is that the Pyro is a direct counter to the Spy, as the Pyro sweeping an area can easily reveal and kill a cloaked or disguised Spy, making this theory even more convincing. While we're on the subject of Team Fortress, let's wrap up this video by comparing a song from the game with a theme from Peter Gunn. Well, there you have a couple of fascinating Valve theories to think about, and if you have any of your own, please feel free to leave a comment below. So until next time, thanks for watching.